means the oxygen stops supplying a certain area of the heart. Now, because of the stoppage of oxygen supply, the muscles in that area will stop contracting. And as it stops contracting, over prolonged time, because of the lack of oxygen, the cells in that area will start dying. Now that the cells have started to die because of prolonged ischemia, for even up to 20 to 30 minutes, we will not be able to see anything. Now, within 2 to 3 hours, you will finally be able to see some changes in electron microscopy. After electron microscopy, it will take up to 6 to 12 hours. That changes become evident by light microscopy. This is why myocardial infarction, when the patient comes to you, that the patient has some kind of breathlessness, little chest pain, and then especially radiating to the left of the left limb, then when you suspect, you immediately do a test called TROPI. So TROPI can be detected only at the early stage because it's one of the early physiological pathological changes. Otherwise, visibly, you will not be able to see anything. Now, what is necrosis? Necrosis, it is a pathologic process, like I said. Necrosis is a pathologic process that can only happen after injury. Necrosis cannot just happen on its own. There will be an injury, and the injury will be very severe. So after severe injury, the pathologic process starts. What happens? There's a localized area where tissues start dying. It is the process that happens after the dying that defines the type of necrosis that's happening. The first step in necrosis is denaturation of cellular proteins. The cellular proteins will start degrading. The number 2, leakage of cellular contents through damaged membrane. Now, this is the difference between necrosis and apoptosis. In case of necrosis, there will be leakage. So, if there is leakage from a cell, it will definitely affect all the neighboring cells. But in case of apoptosis, there is no such leakage. So it just happens within one cell or within a group of cells that are destined to die. It will not affect the nearby cells. Number 3, there will be enzymatic digestion of the lethally injured cells. The cells that are dying and are dead will start getting consumed by the enzymes that released because of the process itself. And number 4, that is also a differentiating feature between necrosis and apoptosis, that is local inflammation. Like I said, since there will be release of lot of things because of the disruption of the membrane, the nearby cells will also get affected, as well as there will be a signal to the inflammatory system, because of which WBC will start pouring into that area. So, local inflammation. Once again, number 1 is denaturation of cellular proteins. Number 2, leakage of cellular contents through damaged membranes. Number 3, enzymatic digestion of the lethally injured cells. And number 4, local inflammation. Now, what are the causes of necrosis? What can cause necrosis? Number 1, like I said, in case of myocardial infarction, we call it ischemia. Ischemia is the lack of oxygen supply. So there will be complete loss of oxygen supply in an area. That is what we call ischemia. Now, loss of oxygen supply is one of the commonest causes of necrosis. Number 2, exposure to microbial toxins. Number 3, chemical injury. Number 4, physical injury. And number 5, immunological injury. When you write your answers, so when you write your answers, am I audible? Audible now? So when you write your answers, always remember to enumerate first. You will enumerate, like causes of necrosis. You will enumerate first. You will say loss of oxygen supply, ischemia, and then you'll give examples. Always remember to enumerate first, give examples, and then go ahead and give the description. Now, you will be asked to enumerate, it's very commonly asked to enumerate the types of necrosis. Number 1, coagulative necrosis. Number 2, liquefactive necrosis, which is also called colliquative necrosis. Number 3, caseous necrosis. Number 4, fat necrosis. Number 5, fibrinoid necrosis. And number 6, gangrenous necrosis. Now, gangrenous necrosis will be covered separately because it's a special type of necrosis, what we call gangrene. The most common type of necrosis is the coagulative necrosis. It's mostly caused by sudden cessation of blood flow, like in the myocardial infarction. It's less often from bacterial and chemical agents, And commonly affected organs are the heart, kidney, and spleen. Once again, the most common type of necrosis, mostly caused by sudden cessation of blood flow, less often from bacterial and chemical agents. Then you have commonly affected organs, the heart, kidney, and spleen. Short answer question is difference between necrosis and apoptosis. Okay, so the things that you'll cover in the difference: cell size, nucleus, plasma membrane, cellular contents, adjacent inflammation, and physiologic or pathologic role. These 5 points you have to cover: cell size, nucleus, plasma membrane, cellular contents, adjacent inflammation, physiologic or pathologic role. Now I'm giving you the answer. In case of necrosis, the cell size will increase, it will be enlarged, there will be swelling. In case of apoptosis, it will shrink. In case of nucleus, in case of necrosis, there will be pycnosis, karyorrhexis, and karyolysis, which I'll cover in a while. That is, the nucleus will either shrink, it will either break down, or there will be lysis of it. There will be complete disappearance of it. And then we have, in case of apoptosis, fragmentation into nucleosome-sized fragments. Now, I'm not being able to. You'll understand better when you see the images. But in case of apoptosis, the nucleus itself does not fragment. Everything fragments inside the cell first, and then the plasma membrane comes in and breaks into small apoptotic bodies in which there are organelles and parts of the nucleus and other kind of debris. So it's not like the cell itself breaks open, things break inside the cell first and then they come out in small, like how mitosis happens, right? So it will come in small parts, including a membrane. So things do not leak out of the cell. That is one of the difference. In case of plasma membrane, in case of necrosis, there will be disruption. In case of apoptosis, it will be intact. Even though there will be some alteration in the structure of the plasma membrane, it will not be entirely disrupted, it will remain intact. Now, in terms of cellular contents, in necrosis, there will be enzymatic digestion, because of which there will be leakage out of the cell. In case of apoptosis, there is no release of any enzyme from within the cell. And adjacent inflammation, like I said, in case of necrosis, there will be inflammation in the adjacent areas. In case of apoptosis, it will be absent. And like I said in the beginning, necrosis is always pathological, apoptosis may be physiological or pathological. Remember to give examples for both. And you will learn examples as I go ahead with the class. Go to the third page. I've already done that as well. Mitochondrial failure, membrane damage, and DNA destruction. Fourth is an image. There you can see the normal cell. See, it's all labeled, nucleus N. Then cytoplasmic pink color. See, I want you to notice the pink color carefully, because you have to understand when there is hypereosinophilia of the color. So it is pink, even normally pink to purple. In case of, you'll see ahead, when it becomes intensely pink, the pinkish nature of the cytoplasm will increase. See, in case of normal cells, the nucleus is intact, cytoplasm is pink color, which we call actually purple because there's hints of RNA. And then the next image is that of early necrotic cell. So the increased cytoplasmic eosinophilia, see the pink color has increased. Loss of cytoplasmic RNA is there, which causes the purple color of the cell that is lost, so it has become more pink. Then nucleus becomes small, which is pycnosis. Nucleus becoming small is called pycnosis. And in the third image, you'll see this continuous process of necrosis. There's dissolution of the cell membrane. You cannot see any cell membrane clearly. The cytoplasm and the nucleus is there. And in the fourth image, you see karyorrhexis. Karyorrhexis is when the nucleus breaks down. In the next slide, you will see how it changes from normal cells to reversible injury to irreversible injury in case of kidney tubules. You must have done in your anatomy histology class the kidney tubules, right? So here, in the first image, you'll see that it's normal. The cells are intact. The nucleus is clearly seen. And the outlines are clear. But in the second one, where there's some level of injury, you see, I would have liked to point if it was visible. You see, there are some cells on the right side, a little on the right from the midline. They are more pink. They appear more pink than their nearby cells. Are you able to differentiate? Yeah, they are more pink compared to, that means more damage has happened there. So there's increase in eosinophilia, and the cells are more swollen. The cells are more swollen than the normal ones. And in the last one, necrosis has occurred. Necrosis has already occurred. You cannot bring your cells back from these. In some cases, if you notice, there's no nucleus anymore. Only cytoplasm is there, and there is no outline either. So everything has broken down. Loss of nuclei, fragmentation of cells, and there's leakage of contents. And the timeline of cell death in the next slide, I've already covered that. Reversible to irreversible, ultrastructural changes, light microscopic changes, and finally gross changes. In the next slide, I've given you the example of myocardial infarction as well. If you give this in your exam, extra points, it's better to always give examples. Next slide, what is necrosis? I've covered that as well. There will be denaturation of cellular proteins, leakage of cellular contents, enzymatic digestion, and local inflammation. The next slide, zoom in a bit and look at the upper part, which is necrosis. The lower part is apoptosis. We'll do that later. In the upper part, you will see that there's myelin figures. It must have been covered in a reversible, irreversible class. Then swelling of endoplasmic reticulum as well as the mitochondria. As the injury continues, you'll see that membrane blebs are already there. As the injury continues, they will get disrupted. And see, there's diagram of the neutrophils there as well. So that means inflammation has come close to where the necrosis is happening. And then amorphous densities in mitochondria will come. I'll tell you what amorphous is in the next slide. So in necrosis, you will see there is breakdown of plasma membrane, organelles and nucleus, and leakage of content. Causes of necrosis I've covered already. Loss of oxygen supply, exposure to microbial toxins, chemical injury, physical injury, and immunological injury. See, I've already given an example of each at the bottom. For loss of oxygen supply, there's myocardial infarction, which I've covered, exposure to microbial toxins like necrotizing fasciitis, chemical injury like alkali burn, physical injury, frostbite, and immunological injury as in lupus nephritis. Types of necrosis I've covered already. So the first one will start with coagulative necrosis in the next slide. Like I said, it's the most common type of necrosis, mostly caused by sudden cessation of blood. There is ischemia. Gross appearance. So you will have to give an example of gross appearance and histological appearance in all of your answers. You have to describe the appearance, and even in your specimens you'll get. So specimens, most likely you may not get this, but there will be other types of necrosis. So these are the points that will mention. Architecture of the dead tissue. See, the dead tissue's architecture is still maintained. Our architecture is what? It's the outline of the tissue. The outline is still maintained. You can see that there's a wedge-shaped area of necrosis. In the early stage, this looks pale, firm, and swollen. And this area is called infarct. Like I said, infarction happens when there's loss of blood supply in a certain area. So this is an infarct which has happened because blood supply to this area was lost. And as it progresses, it becomes yellow, softer, and shrunken. More like pus. You all know what pus is, right? So it becomes like a pus. See, in microscopic appearance, you will see something we call tombstone appearance. You must have seen cemeteries where you see all these tombstones. That is the hallmark of coagulative necrosis. The normal cells are converted into their outlines only. That is the tombstone. Only outlines are maintained. This is the normal side. This is the abnormal side. In the abnormal side, you see only the outlines are maintained. Here, the nucleus is still there, right? You see all this nucleus. Something similar will be there in your practical exams as well. So you have to learn how to describe all this properly. Okay, you will have gross specimen as well as microscopic slides for your practical exams for necrosis. So hallmark is the conversion of normal cells into their tombstones. The necrosed cells are swollen. See, they are swollen, have more eosinophilic cytoplasm, and nuclear changes of pycnosis, karyorrhexis, and karyolysis are there. If you draw something like this, you'll score really well. Take a look at this diagram. These kind of diagrams that can be hand drawn are available in Harsh Mohan. I've written the pages there as well, so you can go through it. So cell digestion does not occur. Initially, cell digestion has not occurred. The necrosed focus is infiltrated by inflammatory cells and dead cells are phagocytosed. These are all inflammatory cell infiltrates. It's labeled. And then granular debris and fragmental cells are left behind. See, the outlines are still there, right? And you can see there are granular materials in it. Those granular materials are nothing but the debris that's left after the consumption of the dead cells. Now we move on to liquefactive necrosis. It's most commonly, it's also due to ischemic injury, but even in case of bacterial or fungal infections, it's one of the most common liquefactive necrosis. This is more like pus actually, liquefactive necrosis. It's characterized by the digestion of dead cells. The tissue becomes thick and viscous. It becomes like a thick fluid, which is the pus. Now, microbes will stimulate the accumulation of leukocytes. The WBCs will pour into that area and they will themselves release enzymes. The WBCs will release the enzymes which will cause the breakdown of the cells and hence pus will be formed. The commonest examples are brain infarct and abscess cavity. Abscess cavity is where you have the pus. See, this is a section from the brain. You can see there's a cavity. In case of brain, it is not the pus that is formed, but for some reason in CNS, liquefactive necrosis is the commonest type of necrosis. The affected area is soft, so there is liquefied center. There will be necrotic debris. A cyst wall will be formed. Like in an abscess cavity, there is a cyst wall and there's pus inside, so a cyst wall is formed. The necrotic material is frequently creamy yellow, as in an abscess, because of the presence of leukocytes. Leukocytes release that enzyme which cause the breakdown of the cells in such a way that they appear yellow and a pus is formed. See, this is an unfixed, you have seen, must have heard in your tissue processing class, this is an unfixed specimen, that's why it looks like this. When you fix the specimen in formalin, it looks like this, okay? Can you identify the necrosed area? On the left, right? Yeah. Can you? The one on the left. On the right, you can see that then half of the brain is solid. On some parts, you can see that there's nothing in it. So those are the liquefactive necrosed areas. In case of microscopic appearance, you can see that there's nothing at all. It all looks like debris. It looks hotspots, right? So the cystic space will contain necrotic debris. Then macrophages will be there, which will be phagocytizing the debris. So you will see that there are macrophages, big cells with nucleus, and inside you will see there are many granular material. That is the debris. It's eating up it's cleaning up the dirt of the necrosis. The cyst wall is formed by proliferating capillaries. So new blood vessels have to be formed. Since it's a new structure, there will be new blood vessels, right? So the cyst wall will have new blood vessels, which is proliferating capillaries. There will be inflammatory cells. And in case of brain, there will be proliferating glial cells as well. Glial cells are the brain cells, right? Proliferating fibroblasts will be there. Fibroblasts proliferates in any kind of healing in the case of abscess cavity. This is the diagram that you may draw for your exam. Okay, even this is available in Harsh Mohan. This is from the brain. Moving on to caseous necrosis. So caseous necrosis, I'm going to go very fast, okay? We have to cover apoptosis as well. Caseous necrosis is nothing but cheese-like. So cheese, that to cheese block, not your cheese slice. It is cheese block-like. Most often is found in the foci of TB infection, tuberculosis. It combines features of both coagulative as well as liquefactive necrosis. This is the specimen of the lung. You can see there's an area where it looks like granular cheesy material. The appearance is due to histotoxic effects of lipopolysaccharides, which are part of the tubercular bacillus capsule. The capsule has lipopolysaccharide, which causes the cytotoxic, histotoxic effects. These are the specimens that you get for practical. This is an unfixed specimen. You can see the lymph node is enlarged. There's multiple areas of yellowish white cheesy necrotic areas, and when you fix the specimen, that's how it appears. And most likely that is the specimen that will be given to you for your exams. So see that carefully, and you have to practice how to describe this specimen. You have to come prepared for the class when we have class on cell injury. Okay? Now, caseous necrosis, microscopic appearance. There's something special here that you can see that's different. Those are, you see those slipper-shaped cells. These are called epithelioid cells. These are the epithelioid cells. So these are specialized macrophages that appear in granulomatous inflammation. Now, what is granulomatous inflammation? This is granulomatous inflammation, where the center of the inflammation has the necrosed material, then it is surrounded by the epithelioid cells. Now the epithelioid cells are then surrounded by a collar of lymphocytes. So these three you must remember when you draw. In real, this is how it's going to appear. This is the low power view, and if you see in the corner on the right hand bottom, those are epithelioid cells that appear, they are slipper shaped. So this is what's called, the entire thing is called a necrotizing granuloma. And this is the diagram that we'll be drawing. Center with debris, necrotic material surrounded by epithelioid cells which are slipper shaped, surrounded by a cup of lymphocytes, and occasionally multinucleated giant cells, which are also called Langhans giant cells, can be seen. Fat necrosis. Fat necrosis occurs wherever there is fat tissue in abundance. It occurs mainly due to trauma. So, for example, if there is trauma of the breast or abdomen, and even in case of acute pancreatitis, when the pancreas releases its enzyme into the abdomen, the fatty tissue around gets affected by it. And then acute pancreatitis occurs, which is a medical emergency. How do we identify fat necrosis in gross? It's identified as the adipocytes are hydrolyzed, they rupture, they form free fatty acids. Now these free fatty acids react with calcium, and when they react with calcium, all these white granular small spots are seen on the tissue, and this is how a pathologist and a surgeon can identify that fat necrosis has occurred. Now this diagram you will not have to draw, it's difficult, so you can only describe. See, necrosed fat cells appear shadowy or cloudy. There's no clear outline. You can see on the right bottom corner. The calcium deposits are basophilic. Basophilic means blue in color. Surrounded by as inflammation, if you see, it's all tubular disease around the fat necrosis. And what is the basophilic granular calcium deposits? It's not there in this image. See, this is blue, right? This is dark blue. So this blue basophilic material is the calcium deposition. Now fibrinoid necrosis. Fibrinoid necrosis, special type of necrosis which is only seen in blood vessels, mostly due to autoimmune disorders. It mostly occurs due to antigen-antibody complexes that deposit on the vessel wall and then cause destruction of the wall of the vessel. See, can you see a pink ring around the vessel? That is the vessel lumen through which blood goes. So you can see the RBCs. Now around the RBCs, there's supposed to be a wall, but the wall has been broken down, and this is called fibrinoid necrosis. Even if you're bad at drawing, you can understand that it's a human being, right? Even if you're bad at drawing, make sure you draw. In pathology, you must draw in all your answers. Otherwise, you will not be able to score. So even if your drawing is bad, please draw.